One day, I decided I needed a market edge, and so I took a few 50 milligram Vyvanse, broke them off, and snorted them to get a faster kick. I then sat for 10 minutes, waiting for a DD miracle, but nothing happened. The problem? Vyvanse is a prodrug, and so snorting it won't speed up its effects. You see, the lisdexamfetamine is dextroamphetamine with an attached L-lysine amino acid that breaks off in your body using enzymes, thus creating this slow-release mechanism. I wasn't discouraged, and so I took short-acting, expired Ritalin, crushed it into about 120 milligrams worth of powder, and used the same delivery process to give me the edge. I instantly got hit with writer's euphoria. Some people say they see colors. All I saw was a pump and dump right in front of my eyes, reaching the top of its pump, perfectly timed, using behavioral psychology to create strong FOMO to anyone waiting for their next hit of market open. If you haven't figured it out yet, I'm talking about SLS. I will attack this pump and dump scheme from several different views, and maybe some of you will join me on this short trip. Buckle up, buckaroos. We're gonna start with fundamentals. Currently, this shitco is trading at a share price, giving it a market cap close to $600 million US. First thing that I ask is, who is the customer? It's a bunch of unlucky people who basically have, at most, 1 to 2 years to live with a somewhat uncommon form of cancer, acute myeloid leukemia. If we look at how many people get it globally, we're gonna arrive at roughly 1.5 to 2.0 persons per 100,000. Now let's look at all cancers. This will be important. Approximately 200 people per 100,000. Holy fuck, the Vyvanse is kicking in! What I didn't realize was that the Vyvanse has still entered my bloodstream and started dislodging the dextroamphetamine into my bloodstream. I have now transcended into a dopamine and neuroepinephrine-fueled state of being. Why am I mentioning all cancers? Well, it's to disrupt the one thing that is being spread through all the pump and dump posts. That this is a replacement for Keytruda, which was sitting at 25 B-mil in revenue with 80% gross margins. But here's the first misconception that is being omitted in all the SLS cult posts. Keytruda is all-purpose, while the shit that SLS is producing is not. You need to be tested for the presence of WT1 antigen, which is only done for blood disorders and cancers. You may find the presence elsewhere, but it says absolutely nothing about it being usable for this. Source: I know a few doctors. This means that while Keytruda might target the 200 people out of 100, SLS drugs will barely target 1% of that. Why do I say barely? Well, because these drugs are given to specific people. CDK9 is effective only for people with a certain less common mutation, and GPS is given, to my understanding, to people in remission. So let's do simple math before I make you even more depressed. $25 billion, 1%, $250 million. Let's be optimistic and say that 80% are eligible, 200 million. But wait, it gets better. However, right now, my heart is pumping, pupils are needlepoint-sized, and I need to lower the adrenaline in my bloodstream by doing the only sensible thing I learned from Elon Musk: low doses of ketamine. Keytruda gets administered constantly, unlike GPS, which is like less than 20 injections. So that 200 m you were looking at? Yeah, it's probably way lower. Now that we've got over the, holy shit, this thing is worth billions, let's focus on the flying ponies in front of my eyes, warning me about the financials and the CEO's marketing and dilution pattern. A good modern CEO is always professional bullshitter. If you've ever worked as a software engineer, you will always notice two flavors of your average SWE. 1. The technical guy who actually knows shit. 2. The bullshitter who's liked, but does shit and yaps whole day. The first one, if he's career-driven, will become a good CTO. The second one will become CEO. This is true for every profession. Reality is that CEO needs to be able to sell, especially bullshit, to keep investors happy and to bring them exit liquidity. It's all a zero-sum game. Nobody wins, especially not the poor cancer patients who are used for advertising, just like white monkeys are in China. The CEO SLS is no different to other CEOs, except that this guy is a master bullshitter. How do you become a master bullshitter? Ambiguity. Think of the technical guy. He will always be precise in his formulations because he knows what he's talking about. The bullshitter will always be ambiguous because he wants to sound smart. The CEO has a beautiful pattern of selling very ambiguous news, carefully wording them in a way that the SLS cult members, read bag holders and MLM leaders, parrot the actual but not factual message to the masses. Just look up the recent posts on bag holder and pump and dump subreddits for SLS. It's all bullshit purposefully pushed by bots and marketing team. After the share price jumps high, the CEO cuts a financing deal that basically tanks the price into oblivion, not including the perpetual warrant inducement plan, which alone makes acquisition very unlikely. The best part? The CEO gets paid heftily, even though close to 50% shareholders want to lower his above-standard pay. And there's a good reason he's getting such high cash bonuses. He knows it's all bullshit. All of this will mean that if this company gets acquired, which is unlikely, it will be sold at a discount and not a premium. Notice the pattern that even after so many dilutions, the market drives the price close to $4 a share. With constantly increasing share count, it's amplifying the speed at which the company's valuation grows, even though they still haven't really presented anything substantial. Let's look at the recent catalyst. So, what spiked the current share price above $4? Results of the REGAL study were postponed, which was seen negatively. And so the CEO wrote a very ambiguous post saying something on the lines of, "We're still waiting for more deaths so that we can conclude the study," which is absolutely hilarious, because it doesn't say anything about SLS specifically, yet people interpret it in a way that it does, and that the SLS-specific treatment is actually the good one. It may be, but given the pattern, I doubt it will be statistically significant. The study includes both BAT, best available treatment, and the SLS drugs. The deaths they are waiting for might well be the BAT ones, while the SLS patients have already died. Grim, I know. Their argument: average BAT life expectancy is 8 months or whatever they're saying. So why do people think it's good news for SLS? Because people think they understand statistics when they actually don't. Heck, I studied it, specialized in it as a mathematician, and even I will never dare to say that I fully understand statistics. Reality is that the delay might be negative, neutral, or positive. Why? Many factors come into patient selection. The study isn't the typical, let's pick 130 people at day 1 and start our tests. They come in different cohorts and groups. You have high odds of selecting the good group that could even survive 5 years with bad treatment. This can be 10 to 15%. All the bull posts you see focus on using the average as proof that this study is going on longer than it should, which is a very misleading statistic, and using it like this is pure bullshit for gullible people. Average needs to be understood in a way that you will have people who died after 3 months and people who lived those 5 years, and that will average out. So just looking at number of occurred deaths is not enough to know if there is a statistical significance. Saying that the study is going longer than expected is absolute bullshit, because if you have the healthier group by accident, they will survive longer, but it will also be reflected in the final statistical analysis. A small sample size like this is prone to distortions. Follow-up studies will be needed to know if this really works or not, which, by the way, will definitely lead to more cash burn. But most importantly, BAT for AML has significantly improved. And by significantly, I mean really significantly. The 8-month figure is somewhat outdated by now, as it might be closer to 10 to 12 months. Increasing the actual statistical significance needed to be observed with GPS. Unsustainable cash burn and more to come. The cash burn of this company is insane, and even if they succeed with their tests, they will face even higher cash burn due to the necessary shit they need to do to get this drug approved and into production. Given their current free cash, it's more than likely that they will need to raise more money. So why are you bearish? Well, I like to think of it in terms of probability and uncertainty, specifically conditional probability. Let's denote P of event given A as probability of event conditioned by A happening. Ask yourself this: which probability is higher? Number 1, P of good news given CEO bullshitted every single time, and cash burn bad. Number 2. P of bad news given CEO bullshitted every single time, and cash burn bad. Which is more likely to be true? Number 1 greater than number 2? Or number 1 less than number 2? I'm going to go with the likelihood of bad news as probable. This doesn't mean that the drug won't work. I just am certain that they will have to raise cash no matter what, and the valuation once actual funds take a look at the revenue projections won't be as high as the current valuation. The fact that the Trump admin is pushing for cheaper drugs is also pretty negative for any biotech trying to get their life-saving medication out there. This isn't the age of biotech, unfortunately. Hence, I'm buying puts. Note, I'm not a biochemist. I might be wrong, and I'm betting only money that I'm willing to lose, so don't follow blindly. Do your own DD. Also, brace for this post being downvoted by the SLS gang and Indian bots. One last thing. A big middle finger fuck you to anyone who is trying to profit by using dying people as advertisement. My position is small because I'm locked down in other trades, sharing mostly because I like to do equity research. Edit. To the existing and new bots out there, the SLS cult and other believers, yes, I will double down if the stock price goes up. Answering here since I received very nice DM requests. Quote, it might be closer to 10 to 12 months. You do know this trial has been completely enrolled for 21 months, with 117 out of 126 in it for over 24 months now. Out of 126 patients, each arm representing 63 patients, there are 72 dead and 46 alive. One arm got completely destroyed. And hint, it's not the arm passing futility criterias multiple times with a life-saving cancer vaccine with ad infinitum dosing invented by Dr. Scheinberg from Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center, a world-leading cancer institute. There is nothing to gain shorting a $4 stock. I pray for your family. End quote. All that whole diatribe for a $600 bet. You giant POS. I hope you poop your pants. Tinfoil hat level of conspiracy posting, so I will put a few simple points to counter your unfounded claims. I have a massive long position on this, so of course I'm inclined to be positive. 1. WT1 is rare. Absolutely not. It is overexpressed in more than 90% of AML patients, basically a nearly universal marker for that cancer. This means your reduced revenue math based on the tiny 1% slice is flat wrong. 2. Keytruda Comparison. GPS is a cancer vaccine, while Keytruda is a checkpoint inhibitor. So while it's not exactly the same, but if GPS works, it will be the standard of care in a market without many options. So even a modest $500 million revenue would justify a significantly higher valuation than what it's at now. 3. Death statistics. IDMC response suggests otherwise from your drug isn't working claim. IDMC has reviewed the unblinded data regularly and repeatedly recommended the trial to continue without modification. So if GPS had failed to beat the bat arm significantly, or there's not enough of a split between the two, the trial would have stopped for futility long ago, no matter how much better bat has gotten. 4. Survivor bias. Phase 3 trials are randomized, and in this case, healthier groups and the less healthy ones are distributed equally between the two arms by a computer, so the statistical power is supposed to file out the random chance that you described. I agree on not being overly positive on the drug trial like all biotech bets, like your points on possible dilution and study delays being possibly positive or negative. But please educate yourself and find out the facts and factors behind the trial before snorting more Elon BS.